There's no business like show business.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
All systems go.
Good morning.
Prepare to be astonished.
Listen in your office, in your car, or even your neighborhood bar. You can listen with your whole family.
Is this the morning show you were dreaming about? Go back to sleep.
I enjoy that type of radio.
It is a group of people brought together because they share a common belief in what government should be like.
We don't need your education. We don't need your thought control.
That's a talent.
He's wacky, he's zany, wacky and zany. It's another wacky and zany show.
Good morning, Armstrong County. 9:30 now past the hour of 9 o'clock. 67 degrees on the outside if you're just getting up and around. And if you were supposed to be somewhere at 9 o'clock, you just missed it. So you better call them and tell them you're going to be late. We're going up to a high of 78 today, but not without some precipitation. Looks like this afternoon around 1 o'clock, we have some thunder bumpers rolling in. Yeah, I hate to tell you, if you haven't left yet, better grab that raincoat or umbrella, whichever the case may be. If you're part of the women from the 50s, you may want to grab that rain bonnet. Do people still wear rain bonnets? I don't know. That was kind of a thing back in the day, when everyone used to dress up to come into Katanning. That was the way it worked. And so you would see the women, they would have the rain bonnets on. Of course, the men wore their hats, in various fashions. I got a hat the other day, or looked at a hat the other day. It was, never mind. We don't want to talk about that today because I do have a guest. And I want to talk about the census that's coming up very soon throughout the United States, and it is playing a very big role in Katanning, very big role, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that, but I want to make welcome this morning my friend Dwayne Lehman. He is with the Philadelphia Regional Census Center. He's a partnership specialist. Good morning, Dwayne.
Good morning. How are you?
Great, and I'm glad to have you with us here in Katanning. I for some reason, when I marked it down we're going to be doing a telephone interview, so imagine my surprise when Dwayne came waltzing through the door, and I looked at him and I said, "Who are you?"
I believe face-to-face is better anyway.
I like it. Oh, hey, I'm 100% in favor of it. Dwayne, I know here in Katanning that the census is a real issue because we are what's considered, for those of you that are lay people out there, an entitlement community. Now, what that basically means is that we automatically get funded for different programs every year. We're guaranteed an amount of money. There's not a specific amount, but roughly it's 80 to 100,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. But we automatically get it, where we don't have to vie for it. We don't have to put in applications and ask for money and go against 20 other municipalities that are trying to get the same out of the same pot of gold, so to speak. We just get it. But that's based on the fact that we have at least 4,000 population. The last numbers that are being floated now has us going about 200 under about the 4,000, about 3,800. If that happens, then we join communities like Ford City and Applewold and whomever else that if we want money, we have to put in applications and go through a process and possibly won't get it because, they just kind of divvy it out depending on who applies that year. And that can, whenever you're talking, $100,000, $90,000, that's what, about 3 mils roughly of taxes. So it's a lot of money.
It is, and that's where the importance of the decennial census comes in. As you know, the mission of the decennial census is to count each individual, count them only once, and count them in the correct location. And for this decennial census, we have a three-part message. The first part, that it's easy. This will be the first decennial census that allow people to complete the decennial census online, and actually we're encouraging that. They can still do it by phone, and they can also still do the hard copy, the traditional form. It's safe. Their personal information is protected by Title 13. We do not share the personal information with any other agency.
Now, what do you count personal? Like name or how much you make or what?
Anything that can identify you as an individual. So essentially, we take the decennial census and we create statistical information from it, your nominal, your ordinal, and your ratio or interval data. But anything that can identify you as an individual is not included in that data set that we provide to the President by December 31st of 2020 or to Congress by the end of March 2021.
Okay, so in Katanning specifically, let's kind of go through this. I know that there are municipalities already that have, like Manor, for instance. I talked to them, and they actually have taken the 911 map, so to speak, and they have went door to door checking to say, okay, that they have XXX Byron Street on here, but in actuality, there's no house there anymore because it was torn down. So they mark that off, saying there was nobody to be at that location for the census. Is this part of what you're also trying to do?
Correct, and this gets to the current campaign that we're in is called the Address Canvassing Campaign. We are taking our information from our GIS systems and Google Maps, essentially, and we are validating the addresses, because going back to that mission, count them in the right location, is right now we're identifying those locations where we need to send notifications that it is time to complete the decennial census. And so with that, there's a big hiring component going on for that here in Armstrong County overall, and I should say across the United States.
And that's what we really wanted to talk about today, too, because, you know, everyone is saying, oh, I need a job, I need a job. You know, we get this all the time. I get people walking in here all the time talking about that they're looking for jobs or putting in applications, and no one's hiring, which is not true. But at the same time, not everyone's hiring full-time positions, which makes it really rough, and that's a whole other discussion for another day. But you all are hiring, and explain that process a little bit.
So as I mentioned, the address canvassing campaign going on right now, and so what's happening is that we are hiring, and I have some updated numbers here, and I just want to make sure I get this right. Right now in Armstrong County overall, we're looking for 660 applicants between now and, say, the middle of June. And to be a census worker, you have to be 18 years old, you have to be a U.S. citizen, there is a background check, and if you want to apply, you just go to 2020census.gov/jobs. There is an online application that you will fill out. You don't need to attach your resume. There is an assessment that takes about 30 minutes to complete. And then from there, the supervisors will be selected, and they're actually going to be trained during the end of May of this year. The listers, and that's what we identify as those people going out and canvassing the area to validate those addresses, they're going to be selected around the middle of June. Their training begins around the beginning of August, and they're out in the field mid-August through the beginning of October actually validating addresses. And that's phase one, and we go through peaks and valleys. And so that's the addressing campaign. And then next year, National Census Day is 1 April 2020. And how this is going to work is after we validate all the addresses, we will send out notifications to those locations indicating that it's now time to complete the census, online, phone, or the paper copy. 1 April is National Census Day, and that's the snapshot we're looking at is where are people at on 1 April. If they don't complete the census by the 10th of April, they're going to get a reminder email. And then we kick off our next campaign, excuse me, which is the non-response follow-up. And again, that's where we're going to be hiring a lot of people to be enumerators, what most people consider the traditional door knockers, going out and asking people and assisting people in completing the decennial census.
I know that in the past that there have been people who do not want to give out any information to the government whatsoever. But I will tell you, I'm a Katanning Borough Council member, and I will tell you that how very, very, very important it is that you do participate in some form. Now, the question, though, does arise, do I have to fill out all the information?
We would like you to fill out the information. This goes back to our constitutional roots. The first decennial census was conducted in 1790, and if you look at the Constitution of the United States, the actual mention of conducting a census every 10 years is in Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution. And that's where our founding fathers came together for that great compromise, where we have a bicameral House, the House of Representatives and the Senate. And the Senate is, each state gets an equal vote, 2 individuals per Senate, and the House of Representatives is based on the population. And so we're asking people to complete the entire census and submit it, so that way we can identify, I should say Congress can identify how many representatives each state receives.
And we have experienced the result of the census in the Armstrong School District because they had to redistrict in the sense that their representatives, they have 9 people on board, and they had to change the way that where their boundaries were because the population had shifted. And Kittanning is going to have to do the same thing. We have talked about it now for, that I know of, 6 years, and we still haven't done anything about it. Now everybody's saying, well, we'll wait till the 2020 census. Well, okay, but we better get on the stick because some of our wards aren't correct. These are all based off of census statistics. Again, just another important reason that the person that you are going to elect to represent you in local, county, state, and federal governments all depend on that district that is proportionate to what they're supposed to be in. So again, just another reason we're trying, and I'm all for this because of the fact that this ties us together as a country.
Absolutely. And, we take that decennial census information, and that's going to affect decision-making over the next decade. Not only does it define how many seats in the House of Representatives each state gets, but here in the state of Pennsylvania, it actually helps us with our redistricting program after that decennial census is released. And then, as you mentioned at the beginning of the program, there's a lot of money tied to that. The federal government allocates $675 billion back to the states in the form of a number of funding opportunities and grants, whether it be highway and infrastructure, school, education, a lot of your social programs such as Medicare, Medicaid, Medicare Part B, WIC programs, Head Start, and et cetera.
Okay. Well, the next question, of course, I want to know is, what are we going to do? Like, how do you sign up to do this? We're going to find out in just a moment. It's 21 past the hour of 9 o'clock. David and Friends on the air with you, 1380 AM, FM 103.7, WTYM. Let's check regional sports.
The Phillies outscored the Cardinals 16-1 the last 2 days to win the series. Good morning. This is Sports from Radio PA. On Wednesday, Philadelphia pitched a shutout to clinch the series win over the Cardinals. The 5-0 victory came on 4 runs in the 5th inning. Cesar Hernandez hit his 3rd homer of the year, but more importantly, the pitching was outstanding. Jared Eickhoff threw 8 scoreless innings, let up just 3 runs, and struck out 4 batters. And Sir Anthony Dominguez closed the win with a scoreless 9th. The Phils next open up an interleague set with the Royals on Friday, as today is set aside for travel. Around the league, the Pirates were unable to complete a sweep of the Rangers. Radio PA's Sean McCullough reports.
The Pirates' 3-game winning streak came to an end with a 9-6 loss to the Texas Rangers at PNC Park. The Rangers rallied back with 7 unanswered runs in the final 2 innings to beat the Bucks. Josh Bell went 2 for 4 from the plate with 2 RBI, including a 2-run 472-foot blast in the 4th inning that landed in the Allegheny River on the fly. The Pirates will next head out on an 11-game road trip starting in St. Louis against the Cardinals, then to Arizona and San Diego. I'm Sean McCullough.
To the NBA, where the Sixers trail the Raptors 3-2 and look to keep their playoff hopes alive tonight. Joel Embiid scored just 13 points in a Game 5 loss as the Sixers star has been playing through an illness. Brett Brown doesn't understand the harsh criticism of Embiid.
He's trying to play for us. He's trying to get out of bed with a significant temperature and come represent the organization. I think it's grossly unfair. Some of the criticism that he gets, I don't understand that.
Here's what Joel had to say to the critics.
Can't control my physical condition. I can also control how much I push myself, and I try to do that, but I just gotta do more.
Game 6 tips off at Wells Fargo Center tonight at 8. And that's sports. I'm Andrew Scaglione.
Let's check the weather with David Croyle right now on Radio for Your Neighborhood, AM 1380 and FM 103.7, WTYM, Katanning, Fort City.
It's 67 degrees on the outside, going up to a high of 78 hopefully today, but not without peril. That's right, we have some thunder bumpers coming in. To tell us about it, Mr. Lee Hendricks, meteorologist of the National Weather Service. Good morning, Lee.
Good morning, Dave.
Okay, tell me about this. By this afternoon, we're going to see some precip, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, we're going to have some showers and thunderstorms moving in later on this afternoon. We have about a 60% chance during the day today, near 100% tonight, and it's going to be about a 70% chance for Friday and Friday night. Through the period, we're looking for in the Armstrong County area somewhere around an inch of rain during that time. We'll get a bit of a break with drier weather coming in during the day on Saturday, but more showers moving in Saturday night and Sunday. Going to be a little bit cooler next week.
Okay, so the honeydew list should come around Saturday then, right?
Yeah, you better get everything done fast Saturday because the weather doesn't look great until Tuesday.
Okay, so you have your list already made out for Saturday that you'll have to be doing?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Lee Hendricks, National Weather Service, Pittsburgh, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it so very, very much. It's moving up to 25 now past the hour.
If you gotta get up.
If I gotta get up, I gotta get up.
Do it with us.
And go, go, go!
David and Friends, weekdays on WTYM, Katanning.
Dwayne Lehman is my friend today. He is the partnership specialist at the Philadelphia Regional Census Center. He's driven the whole way over to Armstrong County, to downtown Katanning, to be in our studios here at the Big 114, South Jefferson Street, and I just appreciate him being here so very, very much. So thank you, Dwayne, for being a part of the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the big question, because you say you're hiring, and that's how this whole conversation between you and I started to begin with, that the Census Bureau is hiring people to do various aspects. So what will they do in kind of in short form? And then also, how much are you paying, and how does someone go ahead and get into it?
So, all right, let me back up and say what the requirements are first. So you have to be 18 years old. You have to be a U.S. citizen. There is a background check required. And then when you go online, there's an assessment that you have to fill out, and it takes about 30 minutes, I'm going to say. We are paying between $13.50 to $18 an hour, depending on which region that you're in. And these are part-time intermittent jobs. As I described earlier, we have the address canvassing campaign going on now through about the end of September. And then next year, we also have the non-response follow-up program going on, which are your enumerators, and that's going to run around from April 10th to the end of July of 2020. They can go, simply fill out the application online. It is 2020census.gov/jobs. And make sure to have the 2020 census in there. And we do have a Wave 1 office open up in Butler County. There's still some positions there as far as like clerks and admins and things of that nature that you can also apply to if you don't want to be either an enumerator, or if you don't want to be a
bean counter.
Yes. So
I love how the government uses all these enumerators. They're a bean counter.
Actually, I think most people would recognize them as the door knockers.
Okay.
So helping complete them. So let's see. I have some updated numbers for you in the surrounding county. So in Armstrong, during our peak operations, we're looking for about 660 applicants. Butler County is
in Armstrong. Let's slow this down. In Armstrong, you're looking for 660 people.
Yes,
to work how long in a period?
So right now the addressing campaign goes on pretty much, and let me make sure I get my dates right here. The listers will be around. They'll begin in August and they'll go through October or the beginning of October.
Wow, 660 people.
Yes, and managers are actually being selected around this time frame, and then they're actually going to get training in the middle of June.
There you go. Well, so those of you that say, "Man, I need a job," well, there you go. Now you got to be drug-free. Come on, and you got to pass the background check. So that eliminates some of you. But here are jobs available with the census.
And just a couple more points. Veterans do get a preference. People can apply online or even on their mobile devices. We try to keep people as local as possible. We're pretty flexible in the number of hours that an individual works, and a lot of people use this as a secondary income or a catch-up income or just their sense of civic duty. As I'm traveling around visiting different communities and governments, I find that sense of civic duty is still very relevant in today's society, which is a great feeling.
Okay, so very quickly, the way to apply, though, is online.
Correct.
At
2020census.gov/jobs.
Okay, so you go to 2020census.gov, and then you go to jobs, all right? And that's how you apply.
Shutdown sequence initiated. Shutting down.
All right, that's going to be it for today. Thank you, Mr. Dwayne Lehman from the Philadelphia Regional Census Center, coming the whole way to Armstrong County. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great day. All right, folks, that'll do it for another morning. And we have a lot of work to do, right? Yeah, in the census. But, well, you know, all those people that tell you they want a job, this is the time. This is the time. Put them to work. Yeah, and making decent money, too. So, all right. You know, I tell you this every day, but I mean it so very, very much. Thank you so much for being my friend. I do appreciate it. All right, folks, I'm back at 9 tomorrow. See you then. Have a great day.
This is Joe Pittman, candidate for state senator. My wife Gina and I are raising our 4 children here and understand both the challenges and opportunities facing all of us. During my service as Senator White's chief of staff, I have come to know many of you and am well aware of the issues important to Western Pennsylvania. I recognize the need to eliminate school property taxes, and that will be a top priority of mine as your next state senator. Again, this is Joe Pittman, and I ask for your vote on Tuesday, May 21st.
Paid for by Friends of Joe Pittman.